Hey everyone, in this video we are going to take a look at the free-to-use 3D modeling application 3D Builder. This is available for free on Windows. If you do not have it already, you can download it from the Windows Store. And this is by request. I placed a poll on the channel and you guys said you wanted to see more tutorials for 3D Builder. So let's get started. Unlike the other 3D Builder tutorials, this is going to be a little bit of a marathon. I'm going to kind of do more rapid fire through a bunch of shapes because the idea is I want you to see how various tools can be used to get an overall effect. So rather than just saying, here's what this tool does, you're going to see what a succession of tools do in a row. So let's start with custom. Now, when you choose shape, there's only 5 shapes, but by changing latitude, longitude, and a few other attributes, you can actually come up with several different shapes. So say we choose sphere, okay? If we choose latitude to just 2, so there's a top and a bottom, already you've turned this into like a top, like a spinning top, or you could have this be like a gem that has to be collected. Maybe you'd bring the longitude down a bit, like to, 8, something like that. Maybe 7, purely arbitrary, whatever you feel is aesthetically correct. And now you have a gem that your character can collect. But what if you wanted to have a couple types of gems? So you have this kind of symmetrical, nondescript gem, but what if you wanted something a little bit more distinct, like a diamond? Well, that's easy. So you click on Add to create that, and then use my second favorite tool. You click on Edit, you click on Split. You now have the ability to move this plane up and down. You can rotate it too, but we'll do that later. So you just grab that plane and move it up, and now you can see what we're getting at. We're turning this into a diamond. So make sure you have this set to keep bottom. You could do keep top, keep bottom, or keep both. Maybe you're splitting something. And you do split, and now you have a diamond. So it took you all of 2 minutes to have a custom-made diamond for your game. You would just add like a translucent shader to this. I'm not going to do it in 3D Builder because there seems to be an issue where when you apply a material or you apply a color, if it's not the default color, it gets lost when you export it. I suspect it's a defect. When you export using the OBJ format, there's actually 2 files. There's the OBJ file and there's an MTL, a material file. So even though both files are included, it doesn't seem to save the changes. So I think that's a defect, and I don't think it's ever going to be resolved because I have not seen any changes to this application in a very long time. But again, that's okay. The idea is this is meant to make placeholder and really proof of concept graphics. So you're not paying someone to make these for you, and you don't have to spend a lot of time to make them. You can just quickly bang these out, and now you have something to wrap your code around. So just like that, you have a diamond. And the other gem or top if you wish to keep that as well. Okay, so back to insert, back to custom, back to shape. So that was sphere. Let's look at cone. If you change longitude, say all the way down to 3, that makes a tetrahedron. You don't have to do that because there is a built-in tetrahedron. If you change it to 4, that makes a pyramid. You don't need to do that either. There is a built-in pyramid. But maybe you want to change this to 5. Because if you carve off the top, if you shave off the top, that's a pentagon. Or maybe you want to make the not squares, but the sections for a map, for like a turn-based strategic map. Those tend to use hexagons, though. So if we take this, so we change the longitude to 6, we do add, and then we do edit. And again, second favorite tool, split. You just push that down. Well, there you go. And you do split. And these you would line up on your board. So say I duplicate this. So object, duplicate. And you can just move these around. Like you'd put one there. And then you duplicate again. And you put one there. So in your game, you now have this tile that you can assemble your board with. And again, like I said, you would use this for like turn-based games. I think John Wick Hex used hexagons for the map. Some use octagons, but as you can see, hexagons fit really nice together. So we'll just delete that, and we'll push this off to the side. So now you've already created 2 useful things. Now working on the hexagon, we can actually make a border for the hexagon to make it look a little more fancy. So how will we do that? We go back to custom, but this time we go to torus. And again, taking a round shape and make it angular by reducing the latitude or longitude. So if we change this, so we change longitude to 6, okay, and now say we increase the inner radius to maybe 15, you now have a border. So we do add, and then slide that over. And now your hexagons have a nice, clean, neat border. Fits exactly right. You could scale like the bottom in a little bit or the outer out a little bit to make it a little bit of a cleaner fit, but you can see just like that, you've taken technically 2 different shapes and combined them into one. Let's see what else we got. So that was torus. Torus you can also use obviously for like rings, so maybe if you're doing like a Sonic game, you'd probably want it to be even thinner, so maybe like an 18 inner radius. That was 19. Let's try that again with the number I actually said. 18, 17. It's arbitrary, whatever you think looks right. And in this case, you would need to increase the longitude. And there you go. Now you've got a ring or a hoop, whatever. We'll save that, although there's nothing really special about it. Now this you can also slice up. So say you want this to be like an arc. So maybe you want it to be like a semicircle. You want it only to be like half of a circle. You could do that. So you could do edit, and you could do split. And then I hadn't shown you this yet, so you can rotate if you grab one of those arrows. And now just like that, you could split that in half. Or if you split this and then do it again, so if we do split, okay, it's been split in half, but now you could split this again if you really want, if you want it to be a quarter for some reason. So you could do split, again, rotate, and then again rotate. And there you go. Now you've got a 90-degree only. You can split that if for some reason that's what you wanted. All right, let's go back to insert. Let's go back to custom and see if I've missed anything. So we looked at the sphere to turn it into diamonds and gems. So we looked at cones. Okay, we can do something else with a cone. So we can actually turn this. So if we increase the longitude quite a bit, doesn't matter, just so it's smooth, we could turn this into a funnel. So what you do is you click on add. And now you're going to click on the rotate tool. And sorry for not really describing much here. These are very typical for 3D modeling. Even in 2D modeling, you've got move, you've got rotate, you've got scale. And then you've got the arrows on the screen to indicate which is which. So we rotate that 180. Now what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this. Object, duplicate, slide it back over so it's centered. It clicks into place. And then what we're going to do is we click on the scale tool. We're going to click on the white corner. That way we're scaling in all directions evenly. And then we're going to push this up. And we want it to actually come through the top because we want to make sure that we cut through the top. And you're going to want to make sure it's centered, but that's really kind of easy because if the outer one is at 0.02, then this one should be 0.02. It should have the same center. Okay. And it's for X and Y, but I noticed that both of them are 0. So Y is 0, Y is 0, Z is vertical, so you don't have to worry about that. They're not going to have the same center there. Okay, so we took the object, we duplicated it, we centered it, we shrunk it. Now what do? We use my favorite tool. We go to edit, and we go to subtract, and there you go. You've hollowed it out. It's nice and smooth inside. Now you could keep it like this. Maybe it's for like an ice cream cone or something like that. You could put, say, an object. You could do insert. You could do sphere, and you could push that up. and you got like an ice cream cone. Probably actually would, in this case, stretch it in just two directions, and then like actually shrink the top. So it's rather than being circle, it's more of a kind of oval blob. Yeah. And you got an ice cream cone. Or it could also be like an LED light. So that's what I mean. You can just keep combining these, whatever looks right to you. Anyways, so I wanted to do a funnel. So you select this, and we go back to my second favorite tool, Edit, Split. This time we go to Keep Top, slide that down. You want to make sure that it's still hollow at the part that you're going to, and you do Split. So now what we've seen, first we use the custom tool to make a cone, then we use the duplicate tool, we scaled it down, use the subtract tool, use the split tool, and now we're going to use extrude down. So here's extrude down, and again we're just going to move that plane down, because sometimes funnels, when they get to the bottom, they'll have like these parallel side to it. So rather than going in narrower, it'll become parallel. That way it'll sit nice and cleanly inside whatever, like whatever bottle, a soda bottle or oil can or whatever you put in the funnel in. And there you go. So it extrudes it down. So now you just saw several tools be used in quick succession and about how you can use this to model. Okay, so there are some modeling aspects to it. Like I said, I find it to be more about carving, but there is still some modeling to it. All right, so let's see. So we've got cube, sphere, cone, torus, cylinder. I don't think I forgot anything, so let's move on. We'll hit cancel. And now what we'll do is let's make a more highly specific shape. Let's make an axe. So maybe you're making a throwing axe for a game, or maybe it's Minecraft, you're making a mining game, you want someone to have an axe. So let's go to, and I just want to say this right now, there are many ways to do this. I never ever say that this is the only way, and I never ever say this is the best way. This is a way. So let's click on a sphere. We're going to scale this in. Now, I do want to mention that when you scale this, you've moved the center over, so this isn't centered. So if you're relying on the center point, you're going to have to make sure that you move this again. So that's fairly pointed. You can try to use the slice tool to make it sharper, but I've had not great results. So we'll just do that. We'll make it really sharp to begin with. And we'll center that at 0. Okay. So now what do we want to do? Well, we really want to have a carve out here and a carve out there. So what we're going to do, again, we're going to duplicate this object, and you could do different things. You could create a sphere and use the sphere to carve out. So we will do, actually, if we use this shape and we carve it out, it'll technically make an indentation. So that actually might be the better way to go. Anyways, so yeah, we'll just duplicate this object. So object duplicate, slide it over, and actually we'll duplicate that again. So now we should have, yeah, we got 3. All right, so we're going to take this, and so that one's at 0, 0. So now what we want is like a curved top and a curved bottom like a battle axe, which means that we really can't use this current diameter. We need to really kind of shrink this down vertically. So we're going to click on scale. We're going to push this down, and then going to push it up again so it's centered. So there, I think it makes it a little bit more evident because you can kind of eyeball this. This is going to be cut out, leaving this up here. Okay. So this has a center of 20, so I think we want this to have a center of 20 then vertically. Okay. So is that enough? Yeah, this is really just a demo, so that's good enough. So we will get rid of this one since I made a change, and this is the one that we'll duplicate. And then we'll just do subtract, which like I said is my favorite tool. We'll take this one, we'll move it into place, we'll move it over. This was saying about how there's like a curve in, and actually this will technically be hollow, which isn't a big deal. If you want to be authentic, you kind of want it to be hollow because you got the handle going through. But again, this is really just for, like I said, kind of testing purposes. Actually, I think that looks a little bit better. So let's do subtract. And there, so you do have the hollow for the handle if you care about that. And so now it's just adding a handle. So object, I keep doing that, sorry, insert, and we want to do cylinder, and we want to rotate that, and then we will scale that out. And since I scaled it out first, we can then use the corner to scale it in because I already made it elongated. It needs to be scaled out some more. All right. We said 20 was the center. So not quite right yet. So we will scale using the corner, and then we could scale that out a little bit. So again, you could go for a hatchet or you could go for a full axe. All right. I think that does it. The vertical isn't quite right. We said 20 was the center. There you go. So now you have an axe. May not be great, but again, placeholder, proof of concept. Maybe you want this to poke out the top a little bit. Could do that. If I was to redo this, I'd probably have this cut in a little bit more. And like I said, you can try to make this sharper, but it's really hard to use the split tool because you wind up cutting off the top. So I think that should do for that. And so let's click on both of those. So we'll do sticky select, click on both, and we'll move that one over. So let's go to, let's click on cylinder. We will rotate this. We'll make this -90. So say you want to make like a half pipe. So, you know, the structure that like people skateboard in or part of like an underpass. So we're just going to stretch this. Now, what I've shown you up to this point is you could duplicate this object, extend it through the ends, and then do subtract. Okay. Well, there's a hollow tool. So if you go to edit and you click on hollow, what you'll see this translucent dim area. That's what remains. This brighter area is what's going to be removed. And you have a slider here that lets you say how much you're going to keep. So that shrinks it, so you're going to take out a lot less and keep a lot more. So let's put it back towards where it was originally. Okay, so now we do that. So we hollow it out. It doesn't look hollow yet, okay, because the sides are still there. But now let's split this and watch what happens. So we go to split, we go to keep bottom, we do split, and you can see just how terrible, you know, whereas using another object makes a nice smooth inside when you do subtract, hollow just makes this really jagged inside. Now, maybe you want this kind of aesthetic. So again, say you're not using this for placeholder graphics. Maybe you're making a low poly game and you want it to have this kind of jagged wood edge. You absolutely can do this. I personally don't like the effect, but it's up to you, whatever you want to do with your game. I did want to point it out because it is a built-in tool. I just don't like that. I think it also takes up a lot more memory because I think each one of those is considered like a facing. And now you just slice off the ends if you're trying to make a half pipe. So you would do split. And as we mentioned earlier, you can rotate this. So you rotate it to an even 90. You then grab that plane and you can just split, so you cut the side off. Sometimes you'll get an error message here because after you've hollowed it out, it doesn't like some of the changes you make to it. And it'll have like a picture of a wrench. It'll just say, click here to fix. I couldn't tell you what it's fixing, but just so you know, that could happen. So again, split, rotate it the other way, we'll move it the other way, and then we do split. And there you go. So now you have like a half pipe. And you certainly could use these kind of effects, like maybe you're trying to make a treasure chest. And I think that'll be the last one. I think I've shown a treasure chest a long time ago, but I don't know if anyone watches the older videos. So let's put the half pipe back there again. I'm not impressed by the effect, but I do want you to know it's there. And let's shrink that actually because I might use the lineup for the thumbnail. Okay. So for the treasure chest, so let's start by clicking on Insert. We'll click on Cube. We will elongate it. And then what we'll do is we will hollow this, but we're not going to use the hollow tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to what I did before. We're going to Object, Duplicate. Whoops, sorry, I hit Duplicate twice. It's getting late. And we'll slide this over so it's centered. We will shrink it in all directions by using the white dot in the corner. We'll raise it up. So again, we're going through the top. Now, because it's a rectangle, the edges are not the same thickness, so you may want to manually try to true this up. And then recenter it. Okay. And again, you want the top protruding out. Edit and subtract. So there's the bottom of your treasure chest. Insert. And we've got cylinder. We'll rotate that 90 degrees. We'll center it, presuming the chest is even centered. And now you're just kind of eyeballing this. So we'll expand this out. Expand this side out. Okay. We can always expand this in a minute. So let's move this up just to keep it obvious what we're doing. And we're going to split this. Actually, if we want the top hollow, let's do that first. So Object, Duplicate, slide it over. Again, scale it down in. And then center it up. And then scale it over. Scale it over, centered, and so now we edit, we subtract, we still edit, we split, keep top, split, drop this down, and there you go, you have a treasure chest. Actually, I made a mistake. We cut out the sides, so undo. All right. In this case, we don't want to do through the sides. Yeah, it's easier to edit out mistakes, but I think it's just as well that I keep in some mistakes too, just to let you know that if you do it, you can fix it. So undo is your friend. There we go. And ideally, you'd want the width of this to match this, but again, just kind of eyeballing this just to let you know how it works. So we again do subtract, split. It's already set to keep top, split, move it down, and there you go. And now you have like a simple little treasure chest. You can do other things, like you could add a couple small cylinders back here. So object, I keep doing that, so sorry. You could do cylinder and then move this back and then scale this way, way, way tiny. Obviously, it doesn't look great because of the coloring, but like I said, I'm not going to bother with the coloring because I know it won't export right. And then you just rotate this. And then you could object, duplicate, slide that over. Get rid of the sticky select. And then you could do something like rotate the top. And there you go. It doesn't quite touch. There. And so you could do something like that. Okay, so I think that's it for this video. As I said, that this was meant to be more rapid fire, more of a marathon, and to show you a range of things that you can do with this rather than trying to do a one-off. But again, we did certain shapes that used a whole bunch of tools in a row. Like I said, the funnel is probably the best example. You made a custom shape, then you duplicated it, you scaled it, you use subtract, and then you use the split tool, and then use extrude down. Okay, so I think that should do it. I hope that you found this useful. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see. Just put it in the comments. I'll put up a few more polls to see what else you guys would like to see. And please enjoy the rest of your day.